Welcome everyone, and thanks for making the time to join us on today's webinar. We've got our very special guest today, Peter Tzamouranis, who's well known in our industry, having worked across multiple categories, I think, over the years, Peter. And Peter's now the National New Business Manager at Hallmark Cards. So we're going to be discussing what's happening in the greeting card category in recent times and how this has obviously been changing during COVID. And we've got about half an hour. So we'll kick off it, but if you've got any questions, please just click on the question button at the bottom of your screens, and we'll try to answer as many of these as we can further on in the webinar. So welcome, Peter. Thanks for coming along to your first webinar with ALNA.
Oh, thank you, Ben. It's great to be here with yourself and the online delegates. So thank you for the opportunity.
Excellent. Look, Peter, you've been back at Hallmark over a year now after some time away working in other categories. Can you tell us a bit about what's changed since you've had a bit of a lengthy, well, bit more than a gap year from away from greeting cards? Since returning, how are you finding the category?
Yeah, so I took 7 years away from the category, so coming back was interesting. So I came back middle of June last year. Working in Victoria, we were in lockdown. So there was probably three things that were really evident upon my return and starting to get back into the category. Was I saw that there was a lot of consolidation in the independent space, in the news agency space, having come from, I left in 2014. There's less news agencies now, but I think they're stronger. The ones that we do have are stronger at the moment. So I did see consolidation. I did see a lot of news agencies evolving their retail footprint, introducing gifts, moving into gifts. And, that was back in 2010, 13 through to 14. I think news agencies started to introduce gift, but they were what we call news agency gift, the $20 and under. I've seen some news agents that are selling $200 clocks, $500, $600 chess sets, have got a whole wall of homewares. And, I would never have thought that was, the giftings that news agencies could get into. So I think the evolving nature of gift into the news agents has been really impressive, since I've come back.
It has been.
And probably the third thing, I saw a lot more retailers engaged in their greeting card category. Back in the day, it was, my greeting card company does all of that, so I don't really have to worry about my category. And I think being one of the most profitable within their stores, I think a lot of retailers now appreciate that and are taking more time, spending more time understanding the data, understanding the department. So that's been interesting as well, those three things.
Yeah, and I think there has been a change of behaviour in how our members do approach some of the different categories. And I guess my next question was, looking at how COVID's impacted the way consumers engage with retail broadly. From your perspective, how have you seen that affect the greeting card category of consumers engaging differently with your brand? Obviously, you've sort of touched on how the retailers are engaging with the category, and I think that has changed.
Yeah, well, greeting cards at their core is about connecting people. So it's been a tried and tested method of communication and connection for a very long period. I think during COVID, whilst there was lots of technology that people were using to connect, I think cards were also used to connect. One of the benefits of the news agency channel was that they were deemed an essential service, so they stayed open through the lockdowns, and hence whilst you couldn't virtually visit people, you could still communicate, and a card went a long way in that. So that was during COVID. I think people gravitated to sending cards to connect. Whether they could be at a milestone birthday or or any other celebratory requirement, birthday, they use cards. Post-COVID, what we've seen is people are living their lives. So, we've seen an increase in demand and sales for celebrations like engagements, weddings that got postponed, rescheduled a number of times during COVID. So, people do, take greeting cards to those things, as well as milestone birthdays. We've seen people starting to celebrate milestones. So I think during COVID and post-COVID, greeting cards were seen as a mode of communication, and therefore, we weathered quite well through that, the during and post.
Yep. And I often get asked the question about whether young people shop in our member stores, and I understand that the greeting card category is an area where younger people are really, they're starting to become good customers for the greeting card category. I mean, I've got some ideas about why that is, but I'm interested in your thoughts.
Generally, the greeting card category, our consumers age into the category. So, but we are
like lotteries in that regard.
And younger consumers are, and I probably put it down to three areas that I see, Ben. One is personal experience. They receive cards, and whoever receives the card, it always perks them up. It always makes them feel happy. And I've got a daughter that's just turning 19 this year, and her workplace sent her a birthday card as well as a lotto ticket in there. I think she got it on Friday. So it was a double whammy for her, which was good. But I think she must have told 10 of her friends, because it came unexpected. It had some nice words in there, and obviously the opportunity to win something next Saturday night. So I think personal experience plays a part. I think products, having products that resonate with them. We're fortunate enough at Hallmark to have some really great licenses that we work with, and we put them across not only our cards, our gift packaging, but our ornaments as well in the gifting space. And some of these, really resonate with the younger market. We got some Harry Potter ornaments that are, selling for $50, $60, $70 for tree ornaments. So I think, putting the products that they resonate with, and licenses, the use of licenses also helps. And then I think it's just anything that's innovation. We launched our video greeting card range at the start of this year, and that's, that was the use of QR codes. And we had lots of inquiries as to where they could purchase them. So innovation in your traditional space also plays a part in bringing the younger consumer into our category.
And has that QR code technology, has that engaged a younger audience or just a broad audience?
No,
everybody knows how to use a QR code now, don't they?
Yeah, so obviously I think in conjunction with COVID and the QR code, everyone knows how to use them. So I think it did bring younger people into the category, overall.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting cards. I know I've got two teenage daughters, and stuff that they do online or on social media, it's a bit kind of vanilla these days. If you really want to do something special for somebody, something like a card is actually, way more meaningful. And so I think there is that kind of return to physicality in some respects with that younger audience. It's great to see card companies adapting to that. And so I might move on to, you touched on gifts and homewares before being such an important category for margin in our member stores now. Can you give us some tips on how best to maximise greeting card sales along with those?
There's probably two areas underpinned by a major insight. So the two areas that I see where you can maximise the gift with the cards is in-store theatre. Creating in-store theatre that encourages not only to buy the gift, but to buy the card, making it easy. So, having a spattering of cards through your gift display that are complementary to the gifts you're trying to sell. I think that that goes a long way, because walking into somewhere and seeing a great visual display actually encourages people to walk over, pick up and touch it, and purchase. I also think the second bit is getting beyond your four walls. How do you communicate a great gift offering, a great card offering to more than the consumers that are just walking into your store? And I think using websites, using social media, I think plays a major role in helping maximise not only gifting but greeting card sales through your gifts. But I think the underpinning of both of those are using your scan data and in-store data to know, what categories are selling well, what captions are selling well, so therefore you can buy accordingly. And I think once you understand your data and, if you sell really well in the baby caption, baby gifts become a no-brainer in there, so you can actually really maximize returns on gifts by using your data, knowing that, if you've got a baby display, how do you put a couple of the nice, fresh, new baby cards that are there so the consumer can actually buy it all standing in one location rather than buy the gift, having to walk across to the greeting card department and buy the card.
Yeah, and I think we kind of get that store blindness. I think sometimes around like cards go here and stationery goes there, and we don't think about mixing it up. Do you see many stores doing that, like where they're putting greeting cards into the gift section? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think we are, and it varies in different sizes, stores, and how much space they've got. But you don't need to have a whole card fixturing in there. It can be just a spattering of just two cards on a table, or two or three of the new designs that the consumer has a look at and says, "Yep, that's what I want. I'm here to buy the baby gift. I might as well buy the baby card."
And ideally, they're kind of premium offers. We're going to make more money.
Without doubt.
No, that's really good. And thinking about sort of the here and now, cost pressures and inflation are a big issue right now, and so is accessing available staff's a real issue at the moment. Do you have any tips for members with a greeting card category about how to, I suppose, manage it successfully but also efficiently with your time? Any top tips?
I think. Obviously, generally, if you're lucky enough to have in-store service provided by your card supplier, leverage that. Make sure that when our merchandiser comes in, they're spending time on the display. I think there's too many times that I'll walk into too many stores where there's empty pockets everywhere, and the order hasn't been put up. So if a merchandiser comes in, does an order and isn't back there for the week, and you get your stock within a couple of days, put it up. You have to have displays that are full and look enticing, as opposed to having empty pockets throughout it. I also think there's an opportunity to and I talk about being engaged with the category and the department. It's understanding the display, the layout. There's insights behind that layout and some smarts as to how the layout works to actually help drive sales. And I think even if you don't have, one of the benefits that independents have is, generally you can walk a consumer over to the department if you know it, and you say, okay, the section's over here. Or, even if you're busy on the counter and you're by yourself, if you understand the layout, you can point them to a location and narrow that wall of cards or sea of cards that many stores have. And I think that's one of the benefits of being in the independent space, as opposed to your big box retailers where you walk in and you ask for if you're after a card, they tell you it's in aisle 19, not where the area is. So I think
there's really no customer service in that environment.
So I think it's all about being engaged in the category and understanding it. I think keeping a display that's visually attractive and leveraging any support that we as a card supplier might have in store.
And is there any support that you think people forget is available that you should remind them of?
I know mostly they're aware of all of the avenues of support, and we get reminded regularly. But we're we're a supplier in the industry that, historically have had support. We're no different to a retailer. We're finding the same issues with cost pressures and availability of staff. So, we've just got to make sure if you are lucky enough to have a in-store service, leverage it, and it also comes back to sort of, if you can keep the display tidy, 5 minutes a day, as opposed to let it go for 2 or 3 days. You might take an hour to tidy it, as opposed to just doing it consistently 5 minutes before you.
That constant management of it in small increments. And that's actually a really good point. Not leaving it to such a state that it becomes a big issue.
And we're a category where there's lots of browsing. They pick up lots of cards. Consumers pick up lots of cards. They like the design. Then they tend to read the words and say, yes, that's the one I want. And sometimes they don't get put back in the way that.
There's a lot of decision making going on by the customer. No, that's a really good point. And I guess the other thing is, when we're looking for margin, cards, especially if we can leverage them with other sales to deepen the basket, there's money to be made in that category. So it's really, really important. And I thought I might get into the weeds a little bit more now. Peter, you've, as I mentioned before, been in and around the industry for a long time. And you've been working, certainly all the time I've been working with our members, and you've got a depth of experience that covers more than just the greeting card category. How do you see the industry positioned at the moment to perform over the next 12 to 24 months? Obviously, it's an uncertain time at the moment, but we've been through some real strength over COVID with the industry. How do you see it?
I do see the industry being bright and exciting, to be honest. I do over the next 24. I still think there'll be a bit more consolidation, when I look at the marketplace and things. But I firmly believe the outlets that embrace change, embrace technology, use their data, will become stronger, will become more sustainable, and hence more profitable into the future. And I think that's a good thing. So, and I'm seeing, a lot of decisions these days are being made using data. I still think there's room for improvement on that. I see retailers change it, where they have to change their business model to introduce gifts, or if a category is declining. In the past, it was sort of left, we've got 2 or 3 runs of magazines, and that's the way it's always been. Whereas now, I think they are investing and looking at to say, how do I get a return on that space, and whether it's got to be consolidated, department be consolidated and increase another department. I think it's happening.
And I think in the past they've probably waited too long to make some of those decisions, and I actually think COVID was a bit of a godsend early on, because it made people make those decisions. Some of them were hard decisions, but it really does come down to the dollars you're paying per square meter for the rent and what you can make out of each category. And looking at that data is really important. So do you, with your team, do you sit down with the retailers a lot and sort of look at that data and talk to them about how they're performing?
We sort of tend to work with our team to train them up on not only our data, because ours is sort of wholesale shipments, what we ship out, versus what a retailer scans. So I think we've started a journey of getting some of the independents, some of our customers scan data, so we can cross-check that with our wholesale data. But it's critical that our team talk to our customers about scan data, and what's actually selling through, because then, I think scan data is the most important, metric there, because it helps you make decisions on what consumers are actually buying.
And broadly speaking, is the scan data that's available, is it reasonably in good quality? Like, like we work with quite a few software providers, and we're quite comfortable with the data that's coming through. Great. So retailers really can make informed decisions about the category. That's excellent. And look, you talked a lot about independence and their differences, I suppose, with the big business chains. I was going to ask you, what do you love about newsagents and lottery retailers that sell cards, and what makes them unique? What's special?
I like the independent nature of them.
Yep.
I think they tend to be small businesses. They tend to be family-natured businesses, and I really appreciate that they're having a go. And it's their livelihood. In many occasions, it's their livelihood. The ability to make decisions for them that best suited to their store and their community, I think, plays a role from where I stand. And I think I really enjoy that, you can have some decisions or discussions that are mutually beneficial for both retailer and supplier, because I think sometimes it's about having that sustainable model that works for both the retailer and both the supplier. I like the fragmented nature of independence. It's not one size fits all. Whilst that's, some people look at that as complex, I enjoy that because, each situation's unique and, everyone's looking at it from a slightly different angle. And I sort of enjoy the challenge. And if we could be there just to support them in one part of their success, it does make it rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, sustainability, I think, is what we're all looking to at the moment in the industry, around making sure that all the different suppliers sort of play a role in making sure that the whole business is more sustainable and not dependent on any one particular category. So I think that's really important. I might just remind the members, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the Q&A down below. We've got a few more minutes left, so I did have a couple of other things I was just going to pick your brain about. Looking at independence, I think one of the benefits of independence is that it allows for a level of sort of innovation and different ideas around different categories. Do you have any sort of novel ideas, or have you seen any novel ideas lately of how people are presenting greeting cards? I thought your example with gifts was a really good one. Or how they can present greeting cards, outside the store when they're looking at how they market the greeting card category.
Yeah, I see. So marketing on socials is about just highlighting just different captions, different newness, freshness.
Yeah, like a unique new card that's really cool or something.
That's coming up, and you'll have quite a few. And I suppose design is in the eye of the beholder. I do see moving into the future. There's some really innovative full face displays.
Well, I've just had a question from one of our members saying, "What is your view of full face display of cards on a wall?" So tell us about it.
So I think it plays a role. It has, obviously, you carry less stock weight, and therefore you have, each situation will be unique. I don't mind, the full face cards. I think it lends itself mainly to lifestyle cards versus your counter, your traditional kids through to sympathy. But I think it does play a role.
Is there a place to do both? To have those lifestyle cards on full face, and then the rest of your range normally presented?
Yeah, there's quite a few outlets that have got, and the most recent News Express corporate store in Malvern has got a really strong range of full face lifestyle cards, and then the traditional cards are in your traditional, like your kids cards through to sympathy, are in your traditional card fixtures, and is a very strong visual display.
Yeah, I did wonder too about that idea of, like, with gifts and homewares, of kind of co-locating a small section of really premium full face cards in that section. Have you seen anybody do that?
No, not in my travels, but that's not to say that no one's not doing it. So
could work. The other question I was going to ask is, I suppose we're coming up to Christmas. How do you see the cards performing this Christmas? Your early days at the moment, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, we're seeing some strong results. Generally, we wouldn't be sort of hearing requests for replenishment cards.
Yep.
And at the moment, I'm just seeing various emails come through to our customer support saying that we need to top up, we need to top up here, we need to top up there. So
okay, that's great.
So early signs are that the loose cards are doing really well. Box cards are strong still.
Yep.
Yeah, loose cards this early on, probably I haven't seen the request for replenishment. So, we're hoping that it'll be a strong, December, as what end of November leading into December will be strong for loose cards.
Yeah, no, I think we're all hoping for a good, strong Christmas this year. We certainly need it. Look, that's been excellent, Peter. I don't think I've got any more questions from the members listening, but really appreciate your time. Great to have you back in the card category, and good to get your insights today in the industry. And looking forward to working with you over the next few years and seeing how things do play out for the industry. But like you, I think there's a lot of strength in the industry at the moment, and it's going to be really interesting times to do business over the next few years. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you to everyone. Appreciate the time.